From a 400 million cathedral to a 58 million swimming pool, how did Ghana's former president turn a national dream into a $21.1 billion corruption scandal? The jaw-dropping truth behind the looting of state assets will make you wonder. Was this sheer incompetence or a deliberate plunder of a nation's future? The corruption scandal surrounding Ghana's former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, is not just a tale of mismanagement. It is a damning indictment of how greed and negligence can cripple a nation. At the heart of this scandal lies the infamous National Cathedral project, a symbol of what was supposed to be a transformative legacy, but instead became a glaring example of corruption and fiscal recklessness. The project, initially budgeted at $400 million, has devolved into a $58 million hole in the ground, resembling more of a community swimming pool than a world-class religious landmark. This fiasco is just the tip of the iceberg in a broader pattern of alleged corruption, mismanagement, and state capture that has left Ghana's economy in shambles. The National Cathedral project was marketed as a flagship initiative of the Akufo-Addo administration, aimed at boosting tourism and showcasing Ghana's faith-based identity. However, the project quickly became a financial black hole. Despite the allocation of $58 million in taxpayer funds, the site remains incomplete, with no clear accountability for how the money was spent. Critics argue that the project was less about national pride and more about funneling public funds into private pockets. The current administration under President John Mahama has labeled the cathedral a crime scene, highlighting the lack of transparency and the blatant misuse of state resources. The cathedral scandal is emblematic of a larger crisis. Under Akufo-Addo's leadership, Ghana's economy spiraled into one of its worst crises in decades. The country's public debt ballooned to a staggering $321 billion, with state-owned enterprises like the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, and the Cocoa Board drowning in debt. Inflation soared to 23.8%. Far exceeding the IMF's target of 18%, while the Ghanaian cedi lost nearly 20% of its value against the dollar in 2024 alone. These figures paint a picture of an economy in freefall, exacerbated by what President Mahama has described as reckless mismanagement and deliberate looting of state resources. In response to the widespread corruption, President Mahama launched Operation Recover All Loot, ORAL, an anti-corruption initiative aimed at investigating and reclaiming misappropriated state assets. The ORAL Committee has identified 36 high-profile cases of corruption, with potential recoveries estimated at $2.49 billion. This includes $72.8 million from stolen lands, where individuals acquired prime real estate at a fraction of its market value. The committee's findings suggest that the scale of corruption under the previous administration was far greater than previously imagined, with $21.1 billion allegedly siphoned from the state. The corruption scandal is not just about numbers. It has real human consequences. One of the most poignant examples is the case of Michael Blackson, a Ghanaian-American comedian who invested $1.2 million in Ghana's Eurobonds to fund a free school for local children. Blackson's investment was seized by the government, leaving him and countless other investors in financial ruin. His story is a microcosm of the broader betrayal felt by Ghanaians who trusted their leaders to steward the nation's resources responsibly. While President Mahama has since intervened to repay Blackson and other bondholders, the damage to public trust remains profound. In a scathing address, President Mahama did not mince words, describing Ghana as a crime scene under the previous administration. He highlighted the criminal handling of the economy, pointing to the deliberate and reckless mismanagement that left the country in dire straits. Mahama's speech underscored the urgent need for accountability and transparency, vowing to restore fiscal prudence and ensure value for every cedi spent. His administration's commitment to recovering looted funds and stabilizing the economy offers a glimmer of hope, but the road to recovery will be long and arduous. Ghana's corruption scandal under former President Akufo Addo is a cautionary tale of how unchecked power and greed can devastate a nation. The National Cathedral project, once a symbol of hope, now stands as a monument to corruption and mismanagement. The $21.1 billion allegedly stolen from the people is a staggering figure. But the true cost is measured in the lost trust and shattered dreams of millions of Ghanaians. As President Mahama works to rebuild the economy and restore accountability, the question remains, can Ghana rise from the ashes of this scandal, or will the legacy of corruption continue to haunt its future?
It's common knowledge that our economy is in dire straits, which is putting it mildly, because an initial assessment of the books we have discovered that our economic problems are much deeper than was previously known. We have inherited a country that is broken on many fronts. The profundities of the challenges confronting us are staggering. We are saddled with staggering debts and glaring signs of almost deliberate and, in some cases, reckless mismanagement of our resources. Mr. Speaker, not even the restraints of an IMF program were enough for the previous economic managers to exercise prudence in managing our finances. After setting an inflation target of 18% by the end of 2024, the actual outturn was 23.8%, significantly higher than the threshold agreed with the IMF. The Ghana cedi continued its downward slide, losing 19% of its value against the dollar in 2024. It had already in the previous year lost 27.8% of its value. In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana Cocoa Board, the hope of cocoa farmers, is also highly indebted. Its balance sheet indicates a total debt of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis.
Following a directive from President John Dramani Mahama, the Ministry of Finance has today, as of 17th of February 2025, honored the payment in cash coupon of 6.81 billion Ghana cedis to all domestic debt exchange program bondholders. Government has also honored the payment in kind portion of 3.46 billion Ghana cedis, deposited into the respective bondholder security accounts in line with the DD memorandum. Additionally, Ghana has also paid into the Debt Service Recovery City account an amount of 9.7 billion Ghana cedis as a buffer for the fifth DD coupon that will fall due in July and August 2025. President Mahama is committed to the government's honoring of all obligations under the DD through the 2025 budget statement. Government will announce further measures that would help to restore market confidence in the economy, prioritize spending, and improve transparency and accountability in public finance. Ultimately, the government seeks to restore fiscal prudence while ensuring value for every pesewa spent. Despite the challenging economy that was bequeathed by the previous administration, the government is still determined to bring back a stable cedi, control spiraling inflation, and create jobs for the teeming youth of our country.
With some fascinating figures. The 36 cases that we have reviewed in detail, if we are successful in recoveries, we can retrieve as much as 20.49 billion United States dollars. 20.49 billion United States dollars. 36 cases, and that's from National Cathedral, PDS, SML. You have the GMPC salt pond decommissioning, and we decided that in this open session we will not go into greater detail. And so there's a great deal of resources belonging to the taxpayers that can be retrieved. Then we've also done an estimate of the state capture, the lands. If we successfully ask people to pay conservative market value for the lands they have looted, again, the experts are telling us that we can recover about 702.8 million United States dollars for the Ghanaian people. That's if we just ask people, those who were paying 42,000 cedis, 120,000 cedis, 160,000 cedis, to pay the fair market value. Those are lands that $500,000, $600,000, you will even struggle to get cantonments estimates. We take the view that if people are asked to pay the real market value, this is how much we can retrieve. So in all, just a summary, the 36 cases, the high amount cases that we put together, and then the land loot, potentially we can raise about 21.19 billion United States dollars. And that is far more than what we have been chasing the IMF for and subjecting ourselves to all kinds